Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of Judaism. We'll explore its core, beliefs, rich history, cultural practices, and the philosophical thoughts that have shaped this ancient religion. Whether you're curious about Jewish traditions, history, or modern-day practices, you're in the right place. So, grab a seat, relax, and let's get started. Core beliefs and practices in Judaism. Judaism, one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions, has profoundly shaped the spiritual, cultural, and social life of Jewish people for thousands of years. Rooted in the belief in one God, Judaism offers a comprehensive way of life, intertwining spiritual principles with everyday actions. The religion's practices and beliefs are deeply embedded in its sacred texts, rituals, and laws, which guide adherents not only in religious matters, but also in personal, social, and ethical life. Understanding the core beliefs and practices in Judaism is essential to grasp the profound impact this faith has had on its followers and the world. Judaism is often regarded as the foundation for both Christianity and Islam, sharing many theological themes such as monotheism, prophecy, and covenant. However, it remains a distinct and deeply influential tradition with its unique practices, laws, and customs. In this article, we will explore the essential components of Jewish beliefs and practices, including the concept of God, the Torah, and sacred texts, the role of Halakha, Jewish law, key rituals, holidays, and the significance of community. The belief in one God, monotheism. At the heart of Jewish belief lies the concept of monotheism, the belief in one, all-powerful, all-knowing God. Judaism asserts that there is only one God, who is the creator of the universe and everything in it. This belief is explicitly expressed in the opening verse of the Torah. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:1. The Jewish understanding of God is not just that He is the creator, but also the sustaining force of the universe. Unlike other ancient religions that embraced polytheism, Judaism presents a radically different view, one God who is both transcendent and immanent. This means that God is beyond the material world, yet also present and active within it, guiding and sustaining creation. God's attributes. In Jewish theology, God's nature is described by several key attributes. Omnipotence, God is all-powerful and has the ability to do anything. Omniscience, God is all-knowing, understanding everything in the universe, past, present, and future. Justice and mercy. God is both just and merciful. While He holds humanity accountable for their actions, He also shows mercy, offering forgiveness and guidance. Holiness. God is completely holy, separate from all imperfection, sin, and evil. These attributes are reflected in the Jewish liturgy and the way Jews understand their relationship with God. For example, the Shema, a central prayer in Judaism, emphasizes the oneness of God. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Deuteronomy 6:4. So, the Torah and other sacred texts. Torah is the foundation of Jewish belief and practice. It consists of the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It is considered the direct revelation of God to Moses, outlining the laws, commandments, and instructions for Jewish life. The Torah, is divided into weekly portions, parshiot, and Jews read these portions in synagogues throughout the year. The significance of the Torah. The Torah is not just a book of laws, but a divine guide for living. It includes stories that shape the identity of the Jewish people, such as the stories of Abraham, Moses, and the Exodus from Egypt. These stories are not just historical accounts, but are also theological narratives that teach important lessons about faith, obedience, and the nature of God. Beyond the Torah, Jewish tradition includes other important texts that guide religious practice. The Talmud. The Talmud is a compilation of discussions, interpretations, and rulings on Jewish law and ethics. It contains the Mishnah, the written collection of Jewish oral law, and the Gemara, the rabbinical commentary and discussions on the Mishnah. The Midrash. The Midrash includes early Jewish commentaries and stories that expand on the Torah, providing explanations and moral lessons about biblical events. Together, these texts offer a rich framework for understanding the divine will, ethical conduct, and the nature of human life. 3. Halakha, Jewish law. Halakha refers to the body of Jewish religious laws that govern all aspects of Jewish life, including prayer, food, family life, and ethics. Derived from the Torah and later rabbinic interpretations, Halakha provides a legal and ethical framework for Jews, guiding their actions and relationships with others and with God. The 613 mitzvot, commandments. The Torah contains 613 commandments, mitzvot, which form the foundation of halakha. These commandments include positive commands, mitzvot asai, that instruct Jews on what to do, and negative commands, mitzvot lo asai, that forbid certain actions. Some of these commandments are ceremonial, others are moral, and many guide interpersonal relations. The role of halakha in Jewish life. Halakha governs every aspect of a Jew's life, from what to eat, kosher laws, how to dress, how to pray, and how to treat others. Observing halakha is considered an essential part of fulfilling the Jewish covenant with God. Over the centuries, rabbis and scholars have interpreted and adapted halakha to address new challenges, ensuring that it remains relevant in the changing world. Key rituals and practices. Jewish life is rich with rituals that create a structure for both spiritual connection and community life. These rituals include daily prayers, blessings, and special ceremonies that mark key life events and holidays. Shabbat, Sabbath. Shabbat is the holiest day of the week in Judaism, a day of rest and spiritual renewal. From Friday evening to Saturday evening, Jews refrain from work and engage in prayer, family meals, and study. The lighting of the Shabbat candles, reciting the Kiddush, blessing over wine, and the challah bread are integral to the observance of Shabbat. Kosher dietary laws. The dietary laws in Judaism are known as kashrut, which define which foods are permissible, kosher, and which are forbidden. These laws include prohibitions against eating pork and shellfish, the requirement to slaughter animals in a specific way, and the separation of meat and dairy products. Life cycle events. Jewish life is marked by significant life cycle events that bring the individual and the community together. Some of these include Brit Milah, circumcision. The covenant between God and Abraham is symbolized through the circumcision of Jewish male infants, bat mitzvah, the coming-of-age ceremony for Jewish boys, bar mitzvah, and girls, bat mitzvah. marks their responsibility for observing the commandments. Weddings. Jewish weddings are joyous occasions that include the signing of the ketubah, marriage contract, and the breaking of a glass. Funerals. Jewish funeral customs emphasize respect for the deceased, the mourning process, and the hope of resurrection. Jewish festivals and holy days. Judaism has a rich tradition of festivals and holidays that are observed throughout the year, each with its own unique meaning and set of rituals. Passover, Pesach, celebrates the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt. It is marked by a special Seder meal and the retelling of the Exodus story. Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, the holiest day of the Jewish year, is a day of fasting and prayer for forgiveness. Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, a time for reflection, repentance, and renewal. Hanukkah celebrates the rededication of the Second Temple in Jerusalem and the miracle of the oil that lasted 8 days, Purim, a festive holiday that commemorates the saving of the Jewish people in Persia, as told in the Book of Esther. The core beliefs and practices in Judaism provide a comprehensive guide for living a moral and spiritual life. They are deeply rooted in the relationship between God and the Jewish people, as well as in the long history of Jewish tradition. These beliefs and practices not only shape Jewish identity, but also contribute to the richness and diversity of human culture, offering timeless lessons about faith, ethics, and community. The history of Judaism. From ancient times to modern day, the history of Judaism spans thousands of years, from its origins as the faith of the Israelites to its development into one of the world's most influential religions. Throughout history, the Jewish people have faced exile, persecution, and immense challenges, yet their identity, culture, and religion have not only survived, but thrived. From the ancient kingdom of Israel to the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, the history of Judaism is a story of resilience, faith, and continuity. This article will trace the history of Judaism, examining its origins, key events, struggles, and developments through various historical periods. It will explore the formation of Jewish identity, the pivotal moments in Jewish history, and how these events continue to influence Jewish communities today. Ancient Israel and the Patriarchs. The story of Judaism begins with the patriarchs of the Jewish people, who are regarded as the founding figures of the Israelite nation. The first patriarch, Abraham, is considered the father of the Jewish people. According to the Torah, God made a covenant with Abraham, promising that his descendancy would become a great nation. Genesis 12:2-3. This covenant became the cornerstone of Jewish identity and faith. Abraham and the covenant. Abraham's journey from the city of Ur to the land of Canaan marks the beginning of the Jewish story. The covenant God made with Abraham was symbolic of the unique relationship between the Jewish people and God. Abraham's faith and obedience to God's commandments became a model for future generations. Isaac, Jacob, and the 12 tribes. Abraham's son Isaac and his grandson Jacob continued the covenant with God. Jacob, later named Israel, had 12 sons who became the founders of the 12 tribes of Israel. These tribes formed the foundation of the Israelite nation, and their descendants would become the Jewish people. The Exodus and the formation of Jewish identity. The next pivotal event in Jewish history is the Exodus, which marked the Israelites' escape from slavery in Egypt and the beginning of their journey to the Promised Land. The story of Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt is one of the most significant and formative narratives in Jewish tradition. The story of Moses and the Exodus. According to the Torah, the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt for centuries. God chose Moses to lead them out of bondage and deliver them to the land of Canaan. After a series of plagues sent by God, Pharaoh finally relented, and the Israelites made their way out of Egypt. This event is commemorated by the Jewish holiday of Passover, Pesach, which celebrates the Israelites' liberation from Egypt, the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. Upon their journey through the desert, the Israelites arrived at Mount Sinai, where Moses received the Torah from God. The Torah, which includes the 10 Commandments and other laws, became the foundation of Jewish law and practice. The giving of the Torah at Sinai symbolizes the establishment of the Jewish covenant with God and the beginning of the Israelites as a nation dedicated to living according to God's laws. The kingdoms of Israel and Judah, after their wanderings in the desert, the Israelites eventually entered the land of Canaan. They were initially ruled by a series of judges, but eventually they sought a king to unite the tribes and provide strong leadership. The first king of Israel was Saul, followed by David, and then his son Solomon, who established the kingdom of Israel, King David, and the unification of Israel. King David is considered one of the greatest leaders in Jewish history. Under his reign, the kingdom of Israel was unified, and Jerusalem was established as its capital. David's military victories and political leadership laid the foundation for a prosperous Jewish state. King Solomon and the First Temple. David's son, King Solomon, is known for building the first temple in Jerusalem, which became the central place of worship for the Israelites. The temple was a symbol of God's presence among his people and played a central role in Jewish religious life. However, after Solomon's death, the kingdom was divided into two: the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. Both kingdoms faced external threats, and eventually both were conquered by foreign powers. 4. Exile and return. The history of the Israelites is marked by periods of exile and return. The most significant exiles were the Babylonian exile and the later Roman destruction of the Second Temple. The Babylonian exile. In 586 BCE, the kingdom of Judah was conquered by the Babylonians, and the First Temple was destroyed. The Israelites were taken into exile in Babylon, where they lived for nearly 70 years. During this time, the Israelites maintained their religious identity through their scriptures and prayer, and the foundations of Rabbinic Judaism were laid. The high return to Zion and the rebuilding of the Temple. In 538 BCE, the Persian Empire conquered Babylon, and King Cyrus allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the Temple. This event marked the beginning of the Second Temple period, during which the Jewish people began to reestablish their religious practices and cultural identity. Jewish life under Roman and Byzantine rule. The Jewish people continued to face external challenges, particularly under Roman rule. The Romans, who conquered the land of Israel in 63 BCE, were initially tolerant of Jewish practices, but grew increasingly hostile toward the Jewish population. The destruction of the Second Temple. In 70 CE, the Romans destroyed the Second Temple in Jerusalem after a Jewish revolt. This event marked the end of temple-based Judaism and led to the rise of Rabbinic Judaism, which focused on synagogue worship, prayer, and study of the Torah, the Bar Kokhba Revolt. In 132 CE, the Jewish people revolted against Roman rule once, again led by Simon Bar Kokhba. The revolt was ultimately crushed, and the Jews were expelled from Jerusalem. The destruction of the Second Temple and the failed revolts led to the dispersion of Jews throughout the Roman Empire, marking the beginning of the Jewish diaspora. Medieval Jewish communities. During the medieval period, Jewish communities were scattered across the Middle East, Europe, and North Africa. Jewish life during this period was often marked by both periods of relative peace and prosperity and times of persecution and hardship, the Golden Age of Spain. In medieval Spain, Jews enjoyed a golden age under Muslim rule, where they contributed to philosophy, science, literature, and medicine. Jewish scholars like Maimonides and others made significant contributions to Jewish thought during this period. Persecution in Christian Europe. However, in much of Christian Europe, Jews faced persecution, discrimination, and forced conversions. The Spanish Inquisition, beginning in 1492, led to the expulsion of Jews from Spain and the forced conversion of many others to Christianity. The Jewish Enlightenment, Haskalah. The Jewish Enlightenment, known as the Haskalah, was an intellectual movement in the 18th and 19th centuries that sought to reconcile Jewish tradition with modern European thought, modernization, and secularism. The Haskalah encouraged Jews to embrace modern education and secularism, while still maintaining their Jewish identity. This period saw the rise of Reform Judaism, which sought to modernize Jewish practices, and the emergence of Jewish nationalism. The impact of the Holocaust. The Holocaust, or Shoah, was one of the most devastating periods in Jewish history. 6 million Jews were murdered by the Nazis during World War II. The Holocaust deeply affected Jewish communities worldwide, and its effects are still felt today. The aftermath of the Holocaust. After the Holocaust, many Jews sought refuge in Israel and the United States. The tragedy of the Holocaust contributed to the global movement to establish the State of Israel as a homeland for the Jewish people. Modern-day Judaism today. Judaism is practiced in diverse ways across the world. Israel, established in 1948, serves as the political and spiritual center for Jews, while the Jewish diaspora continues to flourish in countries around the globe. Jewish life today. In Israel, Jews live in a modern Jewish state, while Jews in the diaspora maintain their religious and cultural traditions. Jewish communities continue to face challenges related to assimilation, anti-Semitism, and the preservation of Jewish identity. The history of Judaism is one of survival, resilience, and adaptation. From the ancient Israelites to the modern State of Israel, the Jewish people have maintained their religious and cultural identity through centuries of exile, persecution, and hardship. The history of Judaism is a testament to the strength of the Jewish spirit and its unwavering commitment to faith, justice, and community. The history of Judaism from ancient times to modern day. Başlığı altındaki ikinci makalemizin bir örneğidir. Şimdi üçüncü başlıkla devam edebiliriz. Judaism and its relationship with other major religions. Eğer bu bölüm üzerinde daha fazla detay isterseniz devam edebilirim. Judaism and its relationship with other major religions. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are all Abrahamic religions, meaning they trace their spiritual ancestry back to the patriarch Abraham. These three religions share a number of core beliefs and theological principles, but they also diverge in significant ways, particularly in their understandings of God, Scripture, and the role of prophets. The relationships between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have evolved over time, marked by both cooperation and conflict, shared traditions, and theological disagreements. This article will explore the theological, historical, and cultural relationships between Judaism and its sister religions, Christianity and Islam. It will delve into their shared origins, theological similarities and differences, and the complex interfaith dynamics that have shaped their interactions over the centuries. Shared beliefs and common roots. All three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, share a common heritage rooted in the figure of Abraham. This connection provides a foundation for numerous shared beliefs, including monotheism, the belief in a single, all-powerful God who is the creator of the universe and the source of moral law. Monotheism. At the heart of all three religions is the belief in one God. While each religion has its distinct understanding of God's nature, all share the belief that God is omnipotent, omniscient, and the source of all life. The Jewish Shema, Hear, O Israel. The Lord our God, the Lord is one, Deuteronomy 6:4, is echoed in the Christian doctrine of the Trinity, which articulates God as a single essence in three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and in the Islamic belief in Allah, the one indivisible God, prophethood. Another shared feature is the belief in prophets, individuals chosen by God to convey His will to humanity. In Judaism, Moses is regarded as the greatest prophet, and his role in receiving the Torah is central to Jewish belief. Christianity acknowledges the importance of Moses, but also sees Jesus Christ as the fulfillment of Jewish prophecy. Islam recognizes both Moses, Musa, and Jesus, Isa, as prophets, with Muhammad as the final and most important prophet. Covenant and revelation. The concept of covenant is foundational in Judaism, representing the special relationship between the Jewish people and God. This idea of covenant is also present in Christianity and Islam, albeit with different understandings. Jews believe the covenant was made with Abraham, and later reaffirmed with Moses and the Israelites at Sinai. Christians believe that through Jesus, a new covenant was established, offering salvation to all people. Muslims view the Quran as the final revelation completing the earlier covenants made with the Jews and Christians. Judaism and Christianity. The origins of divergent Christianity emerged from Judaism, with Jesus of Nazareth, a Jewish preacher, seen by Christians as the Messiah, the Anointed One, and the Son of God. The emergence of Christianity as a separate religion was the result of theological debates about the nature of Jesus and the fulfillment of Jewish prophecies. The role of Jesus. In Judaism, Jesus is viewed as a historical figure and a teacher, but not as the Messiah or divine. Jewish teachings do not recognize Jesus as the Savior. As Jews await the arrival of the Messiah, a human figure who will bring peace, rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, and unite the Jewish people. Christianity, on the other hand, centers its faith on Jesus as the divine Son of God, whose crucifixion and resurrection are seen as the means by which humanity is offered salvation. For Christians, Jesus' death and resurrection fulfill the promises of the Hebrew Bible, Old Testament, and offer a new path to salvation, open to all people, not just Jews. The New Testament versus the Hebrew Bible. While Judaism holds the Hebrew Bible, Tanakh, as its sacred text, Christians have the New Testament, which includes writings about the life, teachings, and resurrection of Jesus. The New Testament is considered by Christians to be a continuation and fulfillment of the Old Testament, whereas Jews maintain that the Hebrew Bible stands as the complete and final revelation from God. Theological differences. The most significant theological difference between Judaism and Christianity is the nature of the Messiah. For Jews, the Messiah has not yet come, and they are still waiting for the promised Redeemer. For Christians, Jesus is the Messiah who has already come, and his role in salvation is central to their faith. Another major theological difference is the Christian doctrine of the Trinity, which posits that God exists as three persons in one essence: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Judaism strictly adheres to a belief in the absolute oneness of God, as expressed in the Shema, rejecting any division of God's essence. Judaism and Islam. Commonalities and divergences. Islam emerged in the 7th century CE in the Arabian Peninsula with the Prophet Muhammad, who is regarded by Muslims as the final prophet. Like Judaism and Christianity, Islam traces its roots to Abraham, and the Quran, the holy book of Islam, is believed by Muslims to be the final and most complete revelation of God's will, following in the footsteps of the Torah and the Bible. The role of prophets. Judaism and Islam share a belief in the role of prophets as messengers of God. Moses is a central figure in both religions. In Islam, Moses, Musa, is one of the greatest and most important prophets, and the Quran includes many stories about him and his role in guiding the Israelites. Islam also recognizes Jesus, Isa, as a prophet, but rejects the Christian belief in his divinity and the idea of the Trinity, the Quran and the Torah. Muslims believe that the Quran is the final and most complete revelation from God, surpassing the Torah and the Bible. While Jews regard the Torah as the definitive expression of God's will, Muslims view it as one of the earlier scriptures which has been superseded by the Quran. The Quran acknowledges the Torah, Taurat, and the Psalms, Zabura, but Muslims believe that over time these scriptures were altered or corrupted, and the Quran restores the true, unaltered message of God. Key theological differences. One of the key differences between Judaism and Islam is the concept of God. While both religions affirm monotheism, Jews understand God as a singular, indivisible entity, while Muslims emphasize God's unity, Tawhid, which asserts that God is the only true deity and is unique in every way. Both religions reject the Christian idea of the Trinity. Another difference lies in the concept of salvation. In Judaism, salvation is closely tied to living according to the commandments, mitzvot, and the covenant with God. In Islam, salvation is based on submission to the will of Allah, as revealed through the Quran and the teachings of Muhammad. Interfaith dialogue and cooperation. Despite theological differences, the three Abrahamic religions share many ethical teachings, such as the importance of charity, justice, and compassion. In modern times, interfaith dialogue has become an important tool for fostering mutual understanding and cooperation. Jewish-Christian relations. Over the centuries, Jews and Christians have experienced periods of both collaboration and conflict. In recent decades, efforts at reconciliation, particularly after the horrors of the Holocaust, have led to greater dialogue and understanding. The Second Vatican Council in the 1960s marked a significant turning point in Christian-Jewish relations, with the Catholic Church formally repudiating anti-Semitism and affirming the shared spiritual heritage between Jews and Christians. Jewish-Muslim relations. The relationship between Jews and Muslims has been shaped by both cooperation and conflict, often influenced by political factors. In medieval Spain, Jews and Muslims lived in relative harmony, contributing to a rich cultural and intellectual exchange. In modern times, however, political issues, particularly the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, have often strained relations. Nonetheless, efforts for dialogue and peace continue, with many Muslims and Jews working together in interfaith initiatives to promote peace and understanding. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are distinct religious traditions with their own beliefs and practices, but they are all deeply connected by their common roots in the figure of Abraham and shared theological concepts such as monotheism, prophecy, and Scripture. Over the centuries, these religions have interacted in complex ways, marked by both conflict and cooperation. Today, the need for interfaith dialogue is more important than ever. As people of these faiths continue to work together for peace, understanding, and social justice. Despite their differences, the Abrahamic religions can draw strength from their shared heritage, fostering mutual respect and collaboration in addressing the challenges of the modern world. Judaism and its relationship with other major religions başlığı altındaki makalemizin bir örneğidir. Şimdi dördüncü başlık olan Jewish Culture and Communities from the Diaspora to Israel üzerine geçebiliriz. Eğer bu başlıkla ilgili daha fazla ayrıntıya inmek isterseniz devam edebilirim. Jewish Culture and Communities from the Diaspora to Israel Jewish Culture is a rich tapestry of religious, historical, and social traditions that have evolved over millennia. While the heart of Jewish life has always been centered on the worship of God, the practice of Jewish law, and the preservation of Jewish identity, Jewish culture has been shaped and enriched by the diverse experiences of Jewish communities throughout history. One of the most significant aspects of Jewish culture is the experience of the diaspora, when Jews were scattered across the globe after the destruction of the first and second temples in Jerusalem. Despite the challenges of exile, the Jewish people maintained their religious practices, values, and identity, adapting to different cultural and social contexts. The return to Israel and the establishment of the modern Jewish state in 1948 marked a new chapter in Jewish culture, one that blends ancient traditions with the complexities of modern life. In this article, we will explore Jewish culture and communities from the diaspora to the modern state of Israel. We will look at the different Jewish communities that emerged throughout the world, the ways in which Jewish culture has been expressed in various regions, and the significance of Israel in contemporary Jewish life. The concept of the Jewish diaspora. The Jewish diaspora refers to the dispersion of the Jewish people from their ancestral homeland of Israel after the destruction of the first and second temples in Jerusalem. Over the centuries, Jewish communities established themselves in regions across the globe, including Europe, the Middle East, North Africa, and later the Americas and other parts of the world. Historical background. the first major exile occurred after the Babylonian conquest of Judah in 586 BCE, when the Jewish people were taken into captivity in Babylon. After the fall of the Babylonian Empire, many Jews returned to the land of Israel, but the Second Temple was destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE, leading to a more permanent exile. Over the next 2 millennia, Jews lived in communities throughout the Roman Empire, Persia, and later in Europe, North Africa, and the Ottoman Empire. The role of the diaspora in shaping Jewish identity. Despite being dispersed across the world, Jews maintained a strong sense of identity through their religion, culture, and shared experiences. The diaspora created unique opportunities for cultural exchange and intellectual development, but also led to challenges such as persecution, discrimination, and forced conversions. The experience of exile strengthened the bond between Jews and their religious traditions, as the study of the Torah and adherence to Jewish law became central to maintaining Jewish identity. The role of the synagogue. As the center of Jewish worship and community life, the synagogue became a vital institution in diaspora Jewish communities. Unlike the temple in Jerusalem, which was the focal point of Jewish worship in ancient times, the synagogue provided a space for communal prayer, Torah study, and social interaction. In the absence of the temple, the synagogue played an essential role in preserving Jewish religious life and community cohesion. 2. Jewish communities. Around the world, Jewish communities in the diaspora have developed distinct cultures, languages, and customs influenced by the regions in which they lived. While these communities share core religious practices and beliefs, their cultural expressions vary widely. Ashkenazi Jews. Ashkenazi Jews are the descendants of Jews who lived in Central and Eastern Europe, particularly in countries like Germany, Poland, Russia, and Lithuania. Ashkenazi Jews have a unique culture that includes the Yiddish language, a mix of Hebrew and German, and distinctive religious practices. Yiddish literature, music, and theater are an important part of Ashkenazi cultural heritage. The Holocaust had a devastating impact on Ashkenazi communities, as 6 million Jews were murdered by the Nazis during World War II. The trauma of the Holocaust continues to shape the collective memory of Ashkenazi Jews, influencing both religious and cultural expressions. Sephardic Jews. Sephardic Jews trace their origins to Spain and Portugal. Following the Spanish Inquisition and the forced expulsion of Jews in 1492, Sephardic Jews spread to parts of North Africa, the Ottoman Empire, and later the Americas. Sephardic Jews speak Ladino, a language derived from Old Spanish, and have distinct religious and cultural practices, including different melodies for prayer and variations in the way certain holidays are observed. Sephardic Jews have a rich intellectual and artistic heritage, and during the Golden Age of Spain, they made significant contributions to science, philosophy, and literature. After their expulsion from Spain, Sephardic communities established vibrant centers of learning and culture in cities such as Istanbul, Cairo, and Jerusalem. Mizrahi Jews. Mizrahi Jews are the descendants of Jews who lived in the Middle East and North Africa, including countries like Iraq, Iran, Syria, Yemen, and Morocco. Mizrahi Jews have their own unique religious customs, liturgical practices, and dialects of Arabic or Persian. In contrast to Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews, Mizrahi Jews have a closer cultural connection to the Arab world. Many Mizrahi Jews faced persecution and displacement during the 20th century, particularly in the wake of the establishment of the State of Israel and the Arab-Israeli conflict. Despite these challenges, Mizrahi Jews have maintained their rich cultural traditions and have contributed to the development of Israeli society. Jewish language and literature, Jewish languages and literature have played a crucial role in preserving Jewish culture across the diaspora. Despite the many challenges of exile, Jews have maintained a strong literary tradition, producing works that reflect the experiences, struggles, and aspirations of Jewish communities. Hebrew language and revival. Hebrew was the language of the cause, Bible, and of ancient Jewish scholarship, but after the destruction of the Second Temple, it ceased to be a spoken language. However, it continued to be used in prayer, study, and religious texts. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Hebrew was revived as a spoken language by Jewish nationalists and intellectuals, most notably Eliezer ben Yehuda. The revival of Hebrew was closely tied to the Zionist movement and the desire for a unified Jewish identity in Israel, Yiddish and Ladino. Yiddish was the language of Ashkenazi Jews for centuries and is a fusion of German and Hebrew, written in the Hebrew script. Yiddish literature, theater, and music flourished in Eastern Europe, with works from authors like Sholem Aleichem and Isaac Bashevis Singer gaining international acclaim. Ladino, the language of Sephardic Jews, is derived from medieval Spanish and contains elements of Hebrew, Turkish, and other languages. Like Yiddish, Ladino has a rich literary tradition, including songs, poetry, and folklore. Jewish literature and thought. Jewish literature has been deeply influenced by religious and philosophical thought. From the early texts of the Hebrew Bible to the writings of medieval scholars like Maimonides, Jewish thinkers have grappled with questions of ethics, theology, and the nature of God. In modern times, Jewish literature has explored the challenges of identity, exile, and assimilation with authors like Franz Kafka, Philip Roth, and Amos Oz addressing themes of alienation and belonging. 4. The role of Jewish women in cultural practices. Women have played a vital role in the preservation and transmission of Jewish culture, both within the family and in the broader community. While traditional Jewish practices have often placed men in public religious leadership roles, women have been central to the home, education, and the maintenance of Jewish life, women's roles in the family and community. In traditional Jewish households, women are responsible for maintaining the rituals of the home, such as lighting the Shabbat candles, preparing the family meals, and ensuring that kosher laws are followed. These practices are not just domestic tasks, but are seen as acts of holiness that shape the spiritual life of the family. In modern times, Jewish women have taken on leadership roles within religious communities, including serving as rabbis, cantors, and scholars. Feminism has also influenced Jewish communities, leading to greater gender equality in both religious and social spheres. Many denominations, particularly Reform and Conservative Judaism, have embraced gender equality in religious leadership. The State of Israel and its impact on Jewish culture. The establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 marked a transformative moment in Jewish history. After nearly 2,000 years of exile, Jews returned to their ancestral homeland and established a modern Jewish state. This event has had profound implications for Jewish culture, identity, and the relationship between Jews in Israel and the diaspora. The creation of Israel. The creation of Israel was driven by the Zionist movement, which emerged in the late 19th century in response to rising anti-Semitism in Europe. Zionism sought to establish a Jewish homeland in Palestine, which was then part of the Ottoman Empire and later a British mandate. The establishment of Israel in 1948 provided Jews with a political and cultural center in the land of their ancestors. Israeli culture is a dynamic blend of Jewish tradition and modernity. The country is home to Jews from all over the world, and its culture reflects the diverse backgrounds of its population. Hebrew, the language of the Bible, is the official language of Israel and is spoken by people of all backgrounds. Israeli music, film, literature, and art often blend Jewish themes with contemporary styles, creating a unique cultural expression. The role of Hebrew in Israeli identity. The revival of Hebrew as a spoken language has been a defining feature of Israelis. Culture. Hebrew is not only a means of communication, but also a symbol of Jewish identity and continuity. The language has played a crucial role in shaping the national consciousness of Israel and uniting Jews from different cultural backgrounds. Challenges faced by Jewish communities. Today, Jewish communities around the world continue to face significant challenges, both from external forces such as anti-Semitism and from internal pressures related to assimilation, identity, and religious observance. Assimilation and identity. In the modern world, many Jews live in multicultural societies where they may face pressures to assimilate and integrate into the broader culture. While Jewish communities have adapted to their environments, this often comes at the cost of traditional practices and beliefs. Maintaining a distinct Jewish identity in a secular or non-Jewish society remains a key challenge for Jewish communities, particularly in the diaspora. Anti-Semitism, the hatred or prejudice against Jews, has been a persistent problem throughout Jewish history. Despite progress in civil rights and religious tolerance in many parts of the world, anti-Semitism continues to manifest in various forms, including violence, discrimination, and political rhetoric. This ongoing threat has created a sense of vulnerability within Jewish communities. Jewish culture has been shaped by a long and complex history, from the ancient Israelites to the modern Jewish state of Israel. The experience of the diaspora, while often marked by hardship and persecution, has led to the development of diverse Jewish communities with distinct customs, languages, and traditions. Today, Jewish culture continues to thrive in both Israel and the diaspora, with Jews around the world maintaining a strong sense of identity and continuity. As the Jewish people face new challenges in the modern era, their rich cultural heritage remains a source of strength and resilience. Jewish philosophy, God, ethics, and humanity. Jewish philosophy is a rich intellectual tradition that combines theology, ethics, and metaphysics to explore fundamental questions about the nature of God, the purpose of human life, and the moral responsibilities of individuals and communities. While Jewish philosophy has its roots in the Hebrew Bible, it developed further in the works of medieval Jewish philosophers who engaged with classical Greek, Islamic, and Christian thought. In modern times, Jewish philosophy continues to evolve, addressing contemporary issues such as the Holocaust, the role of Israel, and the challenges of secularism. Jewish philosophy is unique in its emphasis on action, particularly the practice of mitzvot commandments, and the ethical obligations derived from divine law. Unlike some philosophical traditions that prioritize abstract speculation, Jewish philosophy is deeply concerned with how to live a good, just, and meaningful life in the service of God and humanity. This article will explore key themes in Jewish philosophy, focusing on the nature of God, human free will, ethics, and the relationship between God and humanity. The nature of God in Jewish thought, one of the central themes in Jewish philosophy, is the nature of God. Judaism asserts that God is one, indivisible, and unique. This belief is rooted in the Shema, the foundational prayer of Judaism. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Deuteronomy 6:4. The concept of God in Judaism is characterized by his absolute unity, transcendent nature, and immanence in the world. Monotheism. Jewish philosophy begins with the idea of monotheism, the belief in a single, all-powerful God. This is a defining feature of Judaism, distinguishing it from the polytheistic religions of the ancient world. The oneness of God is not only a theological assertion, but also a moral one, as it underpins the Jewish understanding of the world as a unified, purposeful creation. God's attributes. Jewish philosophers have discussed various attributes of a God, including his omnipotence, all-powerful nature, omniscience, all-knowing, and omnipresence, God's presence everywhere. However, Jewish thought also emphasizes God's personal relationship with humanity. God is not a distant, impersonal force, but a caring, active presence in the world who listens to prayer and responds to human actions. God as creator and sustainer. God is viewed as both the creator and sustainer of the universe. Creation is an act of divine will, and the universe exists because God continues to sustain it. Jewish philosophers such as Maimonides argue that God's role as the creator is central to understanding human existence and the world around us. God's transcendence and immanence. While God is transcendent, existing beyond the material world, he is also immanent, actively involved in the world. Jewish thought emphasizes that God is both above and within creation, providing both a sense of awe and closeness to the divine. The problem of evil. Theodicy in Jewish thought. One of the most significant challenges in Jewish philosophy is the problem of evil. If God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and benevolent, why does evil exist in the world? Jewish philosophers have struggled with this question for centuries, attempting to reconcile the existence of suffering with the belief in a just and merciful God. The nature of evil. In Jewish thought, evil is not seen as a separate, independent force, but rather as a corruption of the good that God created. The Hebrew Bible introduces the idea of free will and the human capacity to choose between good and evil. Evil, then, is often understood as the result of human choices that deviate from God's intended path. Maimonides and the rational approach. Maimonides, one of the most influential Jewish philosophers of the Middle Ages, offered a rational explanation for the existence of evil. He argued that suffering is not caused by God's will, but is a consequence of natural laws or human actions. For Maimonides, the existence of evil is a test of human character, and how individuals respond to suffering can lead to spiritual growth. Kabbalistic views on evil. In contrast to Maimonides, Kabbalistic thinkers view evil as a part of the divine mystery. Kabbalists believe that evil exists as a result of the cosmic tension between divine light and darkness. According to Kabbalah, the purpose of human existence is to restore harmony to the world by healing the divine sparks trapped in the material world. The role of suffering in Jewish thought. Jewish thinkers such as Rabbi Soloveitchik and others have emphasized that suffering can be a source of spiritual refinement. The experience of suffering, according to this view, is an opportunity for individuals to develop patience, empathy, and resilience. It can also deepen one's relationship with God as people turn to prayer and faith during times of hardship. Free will and divine law. The question of free will is a central issue in Jewish philosophy. If God is all-knowing and has a plan for the world, do humans have the freedom to choose their actions? This issue is particularly important in the context of Jewish law, or halakha, which guides the behavior of Jewish individuals in their daily lives. The problem of predestination and free will. In traditional Jewish thought, there is a belief in both divine foreknowledge and human free will. While God knows the future and has a plan for creation, humans are still responsible for their actions and can choose between good and evil. The tension between divine foreknowledge and human freedom is a key philosophical challenge in Judaism, Maimonides, and free will. Maimonides addresses this issue by asserting that, although God knows the future, human beings still have the capacity to choose freely. For Maimonides, free will is essential to human moral responsibility. Without the ability to choose, there would be no basis for reward or punishment, making the observance of the commandments meaningless. The role of divine commandments. Jewish law, as outlined in the Torah and developed through rabbinic teachings, is a way for individuals to live in accordance with God's will. The commandments, mitzvot, are seen as the means by which humans align their actions with divine purposes. Jewish philosophy holds that fulfilling these commandments, even in the face of adversity or temptation, is a way to exercise free will in the service of God. Ethics and moral philosophy in Judaism. Ethics in Judaism is closely tied to the idea of divine law. Jewish ethics is not merely a system of moral principles, but is rooted in the commandments given by God in the Torah. The purpose of ethics is to align human actions with divine will, and Jewish philosophers have long debated the nature of moral obligation and the best way to achieve ethical conduct. The commandments as moral guidelines. The 613 commandments in the Torah serve as the foundation for Jewish ethical behavior. These commandments cover all aspects of life, including ritual, observance, social justice, and interpersonal relationships. For Jews, following these commandments is not only a matter of religious duty, but is also the key to living a morally upright life. Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. A central concept in Jewish ethics is the idea of Tikkun Olam, which means repairing the world. This concept emphasizes the responsibility of individuals to work for social justice, alleviate suffering, and make the world a better place. Tikkun Olam is based on the belief that human beings are partners with God in the ongoing work of creation, and it calls Jews to act as agents of moral and social change. Maimonides and ethical virtue. Maimonides believed that ethical behavior is achieved through the cultivation of virtues such as humility, generosity, and self-discipline. In his work, the Mishneh Torah, Maimonides provides a comprehensive guide to Jewish ethics, focusing on the importance of character development and the pursuit of moral excellence. The influence of Jewish ethics on Western thought. Jewish ethical teachings have had a profound influence on Western philosophy, particularly in areas such as social justice, human rights, and the dignity of the individual. The Jewish emphasis on the sanctity of human life and the pursuit of justice has shaped both Jewish and non-Jewish social movements throughout history. Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah, the mystical tradition of Judaism, offers a unique perspective on the nature of God, creation, and human existence. While Jewish philosophy is often focused on rational inquiry and ethical behavior, Kabbalah emphasizes the hidden, transcendent aspects of reality, God in Kabbalah. In Kabbalah, God is often referred to as Ein Sof, the infinite, representing the unknowable and infinite aspect of divinity. Kabbalists believe that God's presence is hidden within the world, and it is through mystical experience and contemplation that one can come to understand God's true nature. The Sephirot. Central to Kabbalistic thought is the concept of the Sephirot, 10 emanations through which God's divine light flows into the world. The Sephirot represent various aspects of God's attributes, such as wisdom, understanding, mercy, and severity. The goal of Kabbalah is to understand and align oneself with these divine forces to bring about spiritual redemption, humanity's role in the divine scheme. According to Kabbalah, human beings have the power to elevate the sparks of divine light that are scattered throughout the world. By performing mitzvot and living a righteous life, individuals can bring about spiritual repair, tikkun, and restore harmony to the world. Jewish philosophy is a deep and complex tradition that addresses fundamental questions about God, ethics, free will, and the human condition. It offers a rich framework for understanding the divine, the moral responsibilities of individuals, and the nature of human existence. From the rationalism of Maimonides to the mysticism of Kabbalah, Jewish philosophy provides a diverse range of insights that continue to shape Jewish thought and practice today. By engaging with these philosophical traditions, Jews can find guidance for living a meaningful, ethical life and fulfilling their spiritual obligations in the world. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you found today's discussion on Judaism as interesting and insightful as I did. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're looking for more content like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Until next time, take care and keep exploring.